Welcome to the first episode of the Startup Storybook podcast. My name is Daniel Pierce, joined by my two friends, Turner Ray and Wes Orr.
So yes, my name's Turner, and for some background into the Startup Storybook, our goal is just to get college entrepreneurs on here, hear their stories in their early stage, and maybe eventually hear their success stories. And we all know there's podcasts out there focusing on the tech billionaires and Mark Zuckerbergs and Elon Musks of the world, but we're trying to bring a spotlight to our friends like our guests today who are in college and grinding things out on the daily.
Yeah. My name is Wes Orr, and tonight we're going to be having Wesley Mullens, who's a junior business management major studying here at ACU. He's the founder of a startup business that he's created called Scene, a business that its purpose is to create adaptive outdoor equipment for people with physical differences such as himself. He was born in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and moved to the UK at the age of 14. He's grown up with a huge love for the outdoors, and his business's mission is to help people with disabilities. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit more, Wesley?
Yeah, sure. Thank y'all for talking with me. I think it's pretty cool that y'all are doing this.
Let's go.
But yeah, so I was born without my left hand, and I was also born with this crazy love for the outdoors. And I've always been having to sort of jerry-rig something in order to help me to still do what I wanted to do when it came to archery. I would stand on one leg and I would hold the arrow between my nub and my knee and do this weird peacock stance or flamingo stance and all sorts of weird stuff. However, when it came to creating the actual physical things that I could do, I figured that there might be some sort of a business idea there. So,
Awesome. Now, since people can't see, could you describe your disability?
Yeah. So, on my left hand, we're not really sure what happened. Some people say it was amniotic band syndrome, which it's when your arm gets cut off in the womb by an amniotic band. But other doctors are saying that I just kind of had some weird blood clot when I was developing in the womb. So I have my arm past the elbow, and my arm is about 12 inches shorter on my left side as opposed to my right side. And I actually have a very small wrist that's developed. So it still is like sort of most of an arm, just way shrunken down. So yeah, that's kind of how I am. And I honestly forget that I'm like this most of the times. I just kind of go about life as I do. But when difficulties have come up, that's where I had to get a little bit creative.
So we need to get into your actual business, right? That's what I want to learn more about. And so it's called Scene, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us just a brief history on how you came up with that, what it is, and where the name came from? I'm curious.
Yeah, so as far as the name, this is just something that I struggled with a little bit growing up, is like I kind of felt like I was kind of, unless I proved myself in some way, and this kind of stemmed from an insecurity that I had to really deal with, but unless I proved myself in some way physically, then I was kind of pushed aside and not really looked at as much, or people were kind of uncomfortable with the fact that I was different from them. And I want to spare people like me a lot of that pain that I experienced. And I want to show them that they are seen and they are loved, by the God who created them and nature around them. And, there's a lot of people who have disabilities that are really discouraged right now, and they're not feeling a lot of hope right now. And they kind of feel like they're just pushed aside. And that's kind of where Scene came from, is actually, it's the antithesis of that.
Awesome. And so, obviously, sounds like your Scene is to help people maybe like you or who aren't as seen as they should be. And you mentioned there a little bit about God and kind of your faith journey. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I could honestly go on for probably 2 hours straight just on how God has kind of brought me closer to what I should be doing, because I know this is what I should be doing. But it's really cool. I can kind of give this a really zoomed out view, but I started college with a major in journalism because I love to write. But I was also sort of in this place where I didn't really know who I was, still don't really know who I am, but I didn't really know who I was, didn't really know what God wanted me to do. And I also wasn't really, there were definitely some areas of my life where I was kind of holding back from God in a lot of ways, and I wasn't really giving that part over to him. And there was I kind of had this huge turning point. Long story short, I was reading this book by my favorite author. Now her name's Jenny Allen, and it's called Anything, and it talks about what happens when you go from giving, hey, I'm going to give some things over to you, God, to praying the prayer saying anything, like I will do, and go anything, go anywhere for you. And I read that the book cover to cover 2 days, put it down, and I really kind of turned everything around after that. And that was after my freshman year of college. And since then, God's just kind of been revealing to me tiny next steps of what he wants me to do. And he's really honestly just been nurturing me in that relationship with him. And he's really just kind of shown me that, like with fly fishing and with all these other things that he's been showing me how to get into, hey, this is what I have next for you, and this is how you can really start to help a lot of people. That's super zoomed out. I can go way more in depth, but yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And I just wrote down the book, Anything, on my book list. That's definitely...
Yeah, you should read it. It's so Anything, Jenny Allen, she's this lady who she runs this like women's study like all over the US. Okay. So the book is actually slightly tailored towards women, sure. But like if you just like take out some of the she's in the book, it's so applicable and so good.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Absolutely. And so how do we get from like this freshman year kind of learning and growing spiritually? You're starting as you said advertising major, journalism major. And how do we get into, I mean, we haven't even talked about your business yet. How do we get to where we are with Scene today?
Yeah. So I guess sophomore year, I was kind of playing around with fly fishing, and I just started it. I was given a fly fishing rod for Christmas, and I was like, oh, this is like sick, but I was really struggling with learning this. I kind of wanted to learn this since I was like 12, and I just had never picked it up and started learning. And so I was in the UK, and I was kind of practicing and everything, and I was actually I was prepping to become a director for this fly fishing camp that Jenny Allen's son runs, which is kind of crazy cool how that worked out. But so I was prepping for that, and then the first idea that I might be able to start a business would be so what I ended up doing was, that's kind of hard to explain, but for bringing in your line, so it's called stripping line, and I can kind of show you a little bit more of what that looks like with one of my later things, but it's called stripping line. And you need your left hand to do that. You need a hand to hold onto the line and manage that line for you in order to detect bites and everything like that. What I ended up doing was I took a hanger from my sister's closet and I cut off the end of it, and I sort of melted it with a lighter into a question mark sort of shape. And I was able to slide that over the end of my fly rod, and with that I secured it in place with one of my sister's hair ties, and with that I had this extra finger that I could use that then allowed me to strip line. And I kind of have something I've been working on, which I could show you on a little bit. But that I sent a picture to Connor Allen, Jenny Allen's son, and then a bunch of other guys I was working with. I was like, hey, check this out. Look at what I made. And they were like, oh, like, wow, like you might have a business idea on your hands. And then I sort of was like, yeah. And then I sort of shelved that for half a year, and obviously kept fishing with it and everything. And that was kind of the first idea that I might be able to start a business that makes more of these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a really, really cool story. And I definitely want to come back to your faith story 100%. But just to conclude this really quickly, what encouragement at this point do you have for other faith-founded growing entrepreneurs who are starting their businesses?
You don't have to make compromises on your faith in order to be successful in what you love. That's the big thing. If you have a passion for what you're creating, you can create it and completely make it something that's honoring God.
That's great. That's really great. So I don't want to shut down the conversation on faith in any way, shape, or form, but I do want to move towards Springboard because as a pun, totally intended, Springboard being your launching point. So I want to talk about how this fly fishing tool that you've created was a jumping point into the business that you're working on now. And tell me more about that.
Yeah. So since kind of making that fly fishing thing, I sort of was playing around with the idea of making some more things. And I was kind of also thinking about kind of a bigger problem that we can tackle. And I mean, Drew from band, but Drew's a good friend of mine, and he's in a wheelchair. So one big thing that I've been thinking about was, how can I solve problems for people, and then also, like, is there anything that we could do with wheelchairs? And I kind of got into it. I can't really explain exactly how it happened in my mind, but I've been getting into mountain biking a lot. Kind of been working on some separate projects with that. And I was like, what if we could sort of combine some sort of biking mechanics with a wheelchair? And that was sort of where I kind of went to drawing, and I was able to work with this bike shop in town to put together a plan that actually uses your arms in a way that propels a wheelchair. And this isn't new, but however, the way that I did it was new, and that is what can really make it efficient for a lot of people. So,
well, I was gonna say, like, what you just said there, the way that you're doing it is new. And so can you just explain for the people listening, and obviously they can't see you, can you explain how the mechanics of what you're doing is different, and what pain point that is solving for normal wheelchair users?
Yeah. Describe super foundationally. Imagine you have a normal wheelchair, and then you have this bar that runs over top of the wheelchair user's lap. So it's sort of like a L shape that's going over top your lap. And if you press forward on this bar, this provides a propulsion force to the bike's chain wheel, that's like, the main force that's propelled, which then propels the free wheel in the back, which would then move the wheels. So that's the main thing, is you're pushing forward. It's a tricep extension, almost like a push-up motion, and you're being propelled forward. And this is unique in the sense that it's a lot more efficient than anything else that's been used in the past. Instead of this bending over and constant rolling motion, or even some of the kind of wheelchair-esque bicycles that we see where it's a hand cranking rotational motion, since you're pushing forward and you have a seat back, it's a lot more of your energy is being used in an efficient manner, and you're able to reset a lot quicker. And with that, there's also going to be gears on this bike, which is going to be, I call it a bike. It's not a bike or a chair. It's kind of a weird mixture. But there's going to be gears on this thing, which the gears are going to be game changing. So just as if we are on our bikes and we're pedaling and we see a slight incline in terrain, we're able to shift down gears. They'll be able to do the exact same on this chair, which really, as far as speed and accessibility, it really changes the game for them.
And so is this for just your everyday wheelchair user walking around the town, or who is this for?
This is going to be for most people. My demographic is 15 to around mid 50-year-olds who they definitely have some some physical ability, especially up in their upper half. Like we're thinking a lot about like teenagers, or even like veterans who they've been injured, and it's kind of for people who they're wanting out outdoors. They're athletic, but there is a serious physical limitation on the lower half.
And this is for the outdoors. So like, instead of like some people who are in a wheelchair can't go hiking, this is their opportunity to do that and get outdoors and experience that, right?
Yeah, this is their opportunity to go hiking, to get across campus way faster, to go up hills way quicker, and to be able to go around with ease. I'm also wanting to make this also indoor usable as well. There's a lot of playing around that you have to do to make it that nice middle ground. But yeah.
And so with the normal wheelchair, what muscles does that use? Is it mainly your shoulders or your chest? What?
Yeah. So it's a lot of shoulders, and there's a lot of core in there as well. So it's kind of, if you imagine, there's a lot of shoulder rotation, and then there's a lot of that's the main thing, is actually the shoulders.
And so this new one, would be more like chest and triceps. I'm thinking like benching. Like it's almost like benching.
It's almost like you're benching. Yeah.
Plus the gears, it's gonna be a lot easier.
Yeah. And what helps with that is kind of like, people think, oh, you're just gonna be like cranking all day. Not really, because, and I talked to Wes a little bit about this, but imagine it when you're cycling your bike and you're pedaling and you gain up your momentum. Well, now you can coast a little bit. And then if you want to keep up your speed, you pedal a little bit more, but then you coast. Same thing with this. You can pump a little bit, and once you're up to speed, you can ride for a little bit, and you don't have to really do nothing. But then you can pump again a couple more times, and you can keep that speed up, and you're not having to worry as much about it. It's not as exhausting as it sounds. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I kind of just wanted to point out Wes Orr earlier mentioned kind of a springboard metaphor. So springboard is the competition that at Abilene Christian in the Griggs Center, so the Center for Entrepreneurship, it's their annual pitch competition. And Wes was the winner of that competition, winning $25,000 and getting to work on this business and have the funding to do so. And so, with that being said, what are your next steps in bringing your business forward?
Yeah. So as far as the wheelchair goes, right now what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to 3D model every single component of the chair individually and be able to fit it all together. And then from there, I want to send off the STL files for that to manufacturers. They'll be able to make each part for me one at a time, and then I'll hopefully be able to assemble it. And then if there's any problems, they can be tweaked and stuff like that. But I'm going to be honest with y'all, my CAD skills and my 3D modeling skills kind of suck right now. So I'm taking a course right now on it actually to just kind of refine my skills a lot more so that I can really make this chair the way I want it to. Yeah, and that's as far as it goes for the chair. As far as summer plans right now, what I'm really hoping to do is to launch this business off the ground with some smaller products that are a lot more easier for me to create and be able to sell very quickly. And yeah, I can kind of talk to you about those too if y'all want to.
I'm interested.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, cool. So I have things with me. So
Pull them out.
yeah. So
Come on.
the first thing is, remember when I talked about fly fishing? So let me grab it real quick. Take me 2 seconds. So it'll be hard for me to describe on audio only, but I'll try as best as I can. So this is called the Fly Guide. I showed y'all some pictures a little bit earlier, but this basically, it goes over top. It goes over your fly guide or your fly fishing rod. And what you do is you have this little screw here.
Wait, can I get a picture?
Yeah.
Just for, okay.
Wait, let me see if I can hold it good.
Yeah.
For the gram.
For the gram.
Yeah.
There we go.
So you slide it on, and then once you get it to where you want it on the rod, you tighten it down. So now it's not going to go anywhere when you're making your casts like that. And then let's say you want to bring in some line for this. I'll have to strip a little bit of line. Y'all can get some of that awesome fly line audio.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so when you're bringing in line, the line will go in here. And as you're stripping in line, it's going to be this motion. You're pulling it. And this is like an extra finger. And it allows you to, this is for people with one hand. This is for people with dexterity problems, like maybe Parkinson's, or maybe just people who are like older dudes who like really don't have as much use of their hands as they used to. And yeah, you'll be able to, you're stripping in, you detect a bite, and you strip set. And this eliminates the need for that other hand. So yeah, that's for this one. This one, it cost me about 30 cents to 3D print. And I've got my own 3D printer at home, which makes it really nice. So this is something that I can start selling kind of right off the bat. I don't have to go through I don't have to work with any manufacturers or anything like that, which is super nice. Yeah.
And so while we're still on the fly rod, you had mentioned to me the other week that you might potentially have some customers for this one already. And so can you go through kind of how you found them, what their interests are, and how you're hoping to expand those?
Yes. So potential customers for sure. Very, very emphasis on potential.
That's how it starts.
So I don't have them set up. However, what I'm really hoping to do as far as next steps is I'm hoping to get connected with Lucky Fin Project. If you don't know who they are, you should definitely follow them on Instagram. But they're a community of people. They have about 100K followers, but they're all people with limb differences, primarily upper limb differences, and they kind of all just like show like, hey, this is how I do this. This is how I do this. And with both of these projects, I'm hoping to kind of first show that to them, and from there, we'll see where that takes me. But there's going to be a lot of I'm really hoping to market these things a lot for those. Yeah.
And so with that group, is that like a try and get them to do a couple posts with you, try and partner with them, or what are you thinking with that?
Yeah, definitely a couple posts. And from there, I'm really going to use Instagram and Facebook as my two, just like every single day. I'm going to be working on those. Even if I can build up a few, what I really, really am hoping to do is with my first few products, I want to have people try them, And then they just send me pictures of them using them. And then from there, I can kind of build this bulletin of these are actually real people who are using these and loving these.
Testimonials.
And from there, yeah. And that's kind of as authentic as it gets. And people really, really love to see not just the founder using them, but actually like real people using them. So that's kind of my main goal with this one. And then as far as the other thing I'm working on, this is called, right now I'm calling it either like a shark pick or a fin pick, but it kind of works with guitar. And I have my ukulele with me. It's so out of tune, so I'm not going to play. But it's basically, this is kind of what it is, but you measure out the size of your nub. It's pretty easy to do. And what I'm hoping to do is have customers send in the dimensions and some pictures of their arms. And from there, I'll be able to put a portrait of their arm with the measurements on Fusion 360, the CAD software I use. And from there, it doesn't take very long to print out something that has a pick that's already rendered there. And then you slide it onto your arm. It fits pretty good. And then from there, I mean, I could strum one thing. And yeah, if I can get it.
And so what Wes is describing is it's essentially like kind of a cap for his left arm. And on the cap, like it's circular, so it fits on. It's nice and snug, not go anywhere. And then there's like a guitar pick just hanging out the side, so he can essentially play the ukulele. Even
Yeah.
There
So
we
it
go.
strums.
Wes, I have a question. So, do more people have nubs than no arm at all?
Yeah, more people have nubs or some variation of nubs
Okay.
than no arm at all.
Because
for
if
sure.
someone has none at all, I mean, that product won't work for them, you know?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where we can get. This is like as soon as we scratch this very top level, then we can go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Like people with no elbow will probably find this kind of difficult. They can still do it. And then from there, we can kind of go deeper and deeper and figure out different.
Because, like, on paper, it's, like, so niche. It's, like, people who are missing, like, half their arm who have a nub and who also like playing guitar, you know? Like, that's, like, I don't know how many people in the world are like that. But
So
even if it's, like, 1,000 or, like, 5,000, I guarantee every single one of them would buy it. You know what I'm
appreciate
saying?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of where this is very low risk because it's so cheap to make. If it flops, it flops, and I'll make something else that might work. One cool thing with this is even with something like fly fishing or something like the guitar pick is like you don't have to be a guitar player already or a fly fisher miner already, but wouldn't you pay at least a little bit of money for the option to be able to do something you've never been able to do in
That's
your
a good
entire
point.
life?
Yeah.
That's if it's, like, $20, $25.
Like everybody wants to play the guitar, even if everybody wants to play the guitar at some point in their life to spend. I don't know how much I'd charge for it.
And you can market it as, like, you know, you've got a nub, like, you know, you've got this physical difference and you don't know how to play guitar, but now you can learn how to play guitar. It's basically
Yeah.
what you were saying. Yeah.
I mean, you're marketing an experience.
Yeah.
So,
An experience that they've never had before.
Yeah.
And people love novelty.
Yeah.
100%.
You ever seen those like things where it's like people putting on those like colorblind glasses for the first time? and they,
Yeah.
like, start
I need to
crying?
get those, dude. I'm colorblind.
That's right.
And for everyone out there who's a college student and unsure about starting something or kind of nervous about it, I want to point out two things that Wes has mentioned that I think will help you get over that. So first, Wes is, I mean, you have all these ideas, right? You have this fly fishing idea, this guitar idea, and this wheelchair. The first two are much easier to do. And while they might have, like Daniel was mentioning, an extremely niche market, that's something that you can just go out and do. And so maybe if you have this big, great idea, well, don't get rid of the idea, but also in the moment that you're in right now, especially with us college students having classes, things, extracurriculars, all that type of thing, do the small things, something that you can spend a couple hours a week and get started, get customers, grow a following, grow a community around it, and get started.
Yeah.
And then two, the second thing that you mentioned, you said, if it flops, it flops. I love that. I mean, I think that entrepreneurship is all about failing. I've been listening to tons of podcasts, and just earlier on this Monday, I've been listening to the Dave Ramsey's Entre Leadership, and he says that I'll say it a little bit nicer than he said it, but out of all the ideas that he's had, the ones that you see and that made him successful are only about 10% of them. And so, I mean, you're never going to find those quality 10% if you never even do the first one.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest myth with entrepreneurship is that you have to be some sort of a gambler to get started. But yeah, like you said, like you can start low risk or as low risk as possible. There's still some risk. But
Well, exactly. And I like what you said there. Like, you're not really a gambler. You're just confident and okay with risk. I mean, there's going to be failings. So I think that's two great things that you shared. So thank you.
yeah, thanks.
So Wes, let's say there's like someone like you who has a physical difference, right? And they want to start their own business like Scene, you know? But they are sort of scared to get into the weeds and don't really want to start because they have fears about whether it's going to fail or whether they're going to look stupid or whatever. If you could tell them something, what would it be? Something that has helped you go from step 0 to step 1 and get this thing off the ground, you know?
Yeah. Can I think about that for a second?
Yeah.
I think that the biggest thing would be to not discredit your own experience. I think that there's a lot of people out there who have created a whole lot of awesome things that are way more cooler than the things that I've made, and they've never shared them with anybody. Because maybe it just worked for them, and they're like, oh, well, this is just my own weird way of doing it. Y'all go do your own thing. And they kind of discredit their own experience because, like, I don't really know what I'm doing. This is just kind of something that I've figured out right now. Kind of a good example of this is like when I go to the gym for biceps and back. I was doing this today. I use this is kind of just so jank. I put a sock on, then I put 2 elastic bands, wrap it around the sock, and then from there I wrap those bands around a lifting hook. So I kind of have this weird hook kind of dangling off my arm. And from there I can lift and push and pull, but it's so jank and it does not work very well at all. And I kind of hate it. But I can activate back and bicep muscles as best I can. And I kind of think that's what a lot of people kind of like me are they're at that stage right now where it's just a lot of jank. And I think that still that experience that I have with the gym is just as valid as anything else that I've put together. So I think that don't discredit your own experience and see if other people can benefit from the idea that you've come up for yourself.
And has there been a specific feedback or point of encouragement that you got that's like stuck with you that you could point to and say that this is really what's been powering me?
Yeah, I think it was kind of cool. One of the guys during the springboard pitch, it was during the Q&A, they were kind of asking me stuff with like, do you have a patent? Do you have a whatever? And I was kind of talking, and then one of the guys just in the middle, he said, if I can just offer one word of encouragement, like, this is you, like, this isn't something that you're like trying to sell, or this isn't like just like, this is your experience. And this is what you actually love to do, and keep doing it no matter what the verdict is today. And I was encouraged by that. That was cool. So yeah.
And so that was before the decision was cast.
Yeah. I had no idea. Yeah. But yeah, that was cool.
That's awesome.
And so maybe kind of going off this, I mean, obviously you're targeting different groups inside of the disabled community. How do you feel like you're trying to, or do you feel like you're trying to change it or change people's perceptions in a new way? Or
yeah, I really, really want to change it a lot. I've kind of forgot to talk about that. So yeah, I kind of talked a little bit about how there's kind of this weird stigma in a lot of areas surrounding the disabled community where there's a lot of people are really scared to talk about it. And people are almost so scared about how they be perceived if someone else were to be offended at what they would say or ask. So people will just not say anything at all. They're made, and this isn't for everybody, but some people are made to feel uncomfortable. And there's this kind of weird, like, don't touch that subject sort of a thing. And I kind of want to change that. And one thing I talked about in Springboard, and one thing that I definitely think is possible for the rest of the disabled community, is changing the culture and changing the conversation surrounding the disabled community. And we're starting to see this. We're starting to see glimpses of this in the prosthetic arms and legs community. There are a lot of these really cool creators who are coming out with these super crazy cool robotic arms and legs. Maybe some of y'all have seen them online or something.
I saw Marcus Brownlee posted a video
Yep.
Oh,
about a bionic. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I did.
He posted it a few days ago, and it's like a bionic arm, and but it's made for people with an arm, and you put it inside this like larger cylinder, and
wait, it's made for people with an arm.
yes, I think it is.
Well,
He put his
you had an ability, a way to use it with it.
Yeah, he put his arm in like a cylinder, and like as he moved his actual hand, like the biotic hand would move.
Wow.
But yeah, no,
That's
you're right.
pretty
That doesn't
epic.
make sense if it's made for someone already with an
Yeah.
arm.
That was a specific attachment
specific
that they
attachment.
made so that they could demonstrate it.
Demo. I got it.
That's yeah.
But that would be
So you already have two.
you don't need another one?
Yeah. I mean, even with arms like those, like they have some stuff like that out for amputees. But they're actually not too great. It's still kind of an open close thing, and they cost about $20,000 at least. Sometimes like 60. It's insane. But anyway, despite that, they're cool. And they're changing the conversation from like, I'm so sorry that you have to experience this, like to, wow, this is like a really cool hand. Can you tell me more about it? And I think with something like a wheelchair that can move a lot faster than people can, or with, I don't know, with being able to play the guitar with a weird cup thing, I think that it could change the conversation to, wow, that's really cool. Can you tell me more about that? And shift it away from this thing of like people being not comfortable and scared.
So your goal is to bring attention, not just blend in.
Yeah, I want to accent uniqueness and not hide it. I was given kind of weird. I was given a hook arm when I was in preschool. It was had these two pincers that were like that were shaped like a claw, and there was this cable that ran across to my other shoulder, and I would move it by rotating my right shoulder, and it would kind of go like that, and it really scared the other kids at school like a lot, which is like. Honestly, I think that's kind of cool, but they were like freaked out. And so that's an example of like, that's kind of like looks weird and messed up. And then there's the other example of when I was about 9, 10, 11, I got a hand, which is just a modeling hand, which it was made out of rubber and it looked very lifelike. But yeah, it was just kind of like a hand like that, and you could mold the fingers. But otherwise it was essentially to blend in, which is kind of messed up. Actually, I don't really like that very much, because I think this is how God made me, or how God allowed me to be made. I don't think I need to hide that. So to accent it in a way that's cool is kind of what I'm going for.
That's neat. So you lived in the UK
Yes.
for like how many years?
4 years, like fully, but like 6 years.
Like high school, junior high?
Yeah, so
sort of?
I started high school over there. You finish high school when you're 16, and then you do 2 years of what's called A levels, which is just 3 classes, and it's like concentrated stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, is there like, were you treated differently there than here? Is there like a cultural difference
Yes,
between
I
how
was.
people treat? Okay.
It's like
Okay.
this is, if there's any people from the UK listening,
Okay.
but it was just different. And what it felt like to me as an American is like, oh, you're just 20 years behind us as far as bullying goes, because they're like, oh, nerd, or oh, you look different.
Wait,
sort
the
of
US is behind the UK?
thing. No, the UK is behind the US by
so-
like 20 years.
So-
It's what it felt like as an American. It's not the case, but it's what it felt like.
So like
going
there's
in.
more jerks in the US a little bit.
No, in the UK.
In the UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I gotcha.
so it felt, as an American coming in, it was like, oh, I've already seen this on like the 1990s like TV shows. Like this is
Oh,
like
wow.
but yeah, I had a really, really hard time in the UK. I was bullied a lot. And yeah, that was actually the UK was like the hardest time of my life. It was pretty rough. And you know, part of me, I struggle with really bad anxiety. I probably actually have a disorder, but I just have really bad anxiety always. And it was terrible in high school. So that also probably contributed to it a little bit. But kind of going along with kind of what God has been doing in my life, he's done things in my life that I would have never thought possible. And I'm so thankful for how he's healed me to where I am right now, even if I do struggle still.
And kind of bringing the conversation back to faith a little bit.
Yeah.
How has your faith in God kind of helped you through those harder times, younger and maybe still now, and also kind of motivate you to keep going on with Scene?
Yeah. So it's been a really kind of, I've been in a weird position because I've been a pastor's kid my whole life, and it's really we moved to the UK to plant a church. That's what my dad did. And it was kind of hard for a while for my faith to kind of be seen by myself as my own. And kind of for a while, I really just struggled with even believing it. Like, do I even believe truly what I believe? And that was pretty tough. And I kind of really struggled with that all the way till I was like 17, 18. Struggled a lot with suicidal ideation when I was 16. And God was really patient with me through that whole thing. And even coming out of freshman year of college, I was seeking God, and I knew that there were these parts of my life that I was not giving over to Him. I mean, for me, I was in a relationship that I should not have been in freshman year. I knew it from the start, and actually, right after I finished reading that book, I picked up my phone and called my girlfriend from. I was in England. I called her, and I broke up with her right there. And then ever since then, it's kind of like, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. Is like, and then all those things were slowly being added because he's like, okay, you're ready for this next step, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sorry, I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, that was kind of your growing as you are getting through the bullying and other things you're going through.
Yeah.
And now with Scene.
Yes. So it was sort of like, it started a little bit with Launch ABI, that scholarship group that we're in, that kind of, we get to meet these different business owners from around Abilene, and kind of with that. And actually you told me about Springboard, which is pretty cool. And kind of from that, I would be invited to go talk with some people, like this guy, Jason Groves. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he's Refuge Ranch. Like he invited me to go see him that night after our first meeting with Launch ABI. And it was kind of like, okay, like, and this is like a thing where I just started having to pray before every single thing that I'm doing. Like, God, do you want me to do this? And I drove out to Refuge Ranch, and I stopped in the middle, like in front of the drive, about to pull in. I was like, God, can you show me anything that you have for me, if there is anything for me here? And so I drove in, and then had a great time with him, and I got to meet the husband of this lady named Heidi, who is now the founder of Greater Than 3, which I'm hoping to get started plugged in with. She's a wheelchair user, and she's actually one of the people who's going to be helping with testing my chair. So it's kind of like,
that's awesome, full circle.
It's kind of like all of these little things where I'm like, okay, God, can you please show me this next little step? And he's showing me, and he's being really faithful with me, even when I'm so scared about what's going to happen next. And it's like, okay, here's that next step. Yeah. And he's been really, really awesome.
And it's almost seeming like you're not feeling like any pressure to do things immediately or get them done right now. It's almost like you're being very patient, very obedient, and taking your time, taking these one little steps as you go.
Yeah, I'm just kind of asking him to show me, and not everything I'm like understanding or seeing right away. And there's definitely like a ton of mistakes I'm still making, but it's like he's still faithful through it all. He's still redeeming the mistakes that I am making, and he's leading me intentionally. And there's so many areas where it's like that was God right there, where he completely showed me. Like, here's one little example was I was really, really nervous for some reason before going to the Small Business Development Center in Abilene. Just kind of talked with them about my idea. I was like, God, can you just please help, like, encourage me? Like, could you maybe help this guy who's going to be my advisor here, like, to maybe understand what I'm going through, or kind of maybe has a family member who's disabled or something like that. And I went in there, and I was really nervous, but I kind of brought my fly fishing rod, and I was just kind of showing him everything. I was kind of being dumb and whatever. And then I talked to him about the wheelchair. And then after about 15 minutes of me kind of talking and stuff, he said, I kind of understand what you're saying. And he picked up his leg, and he rolled up his pant leg, and his leg was missing.
No.
And I got in my truck, and I just kind of started crying after that, because it was like, wow, like that was really, because that was before I had really started working on anything. And that was just really like cool confirmation of like, wow, like, okay, thank you. and I just kept going. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's a God moment, dude.
Yeah,
100%.
It was. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was it was more than cool. As far as working on the chair went, it was kind of like God just kept wanting to cultivate my prayer life more with him. And it was kind of like, I'm not going to do this without you. And it's going to be really, really hard. But it was kind of like in between every single thing that I was doing, it was like, okay, God, please help me with drilling this next hole or making this next bend in this steel. And it got right down to the wire. I was working on the chair in the parking lot of my apartment because the shop had closed down where I was working at it. And then it was the night before the competition. But yeah, he got me through. It was really cool.
That's awesome. Well, before we kind of close out, Wes, do you want to give us any socials, any way people can kind of hear about you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't really use social media. My social media for the business is called scene.outdoors. Just making sure that's correct because I just started it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, scene.outdoors. And yeah, hopefully that is I'm able to get a little bit of followers on there, and then from there, be able to reach out to some potential clients. So yeah.
Awesome.
And then you have LinkedIn too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
People
really
can
use LinkedIn very much.
Nah.
Wesley Mullens, LinkedIn.
The search
Or, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Is there any last notes that we want to make before we conclude here? Alrighty. I mean, I don't think there's any kind of summary that I could give based on our conversation. It was just such a great conversation and good hearing your story, Wes. And I mean, yeah, I had some like conclusion points written here, and I'm like, I can't say any of that because it doesn't do it justice at all.
That's okay.
So I just think everything that you've done is such an inspiration, and I think it serves. It inspires me to do things like I'm not naturally someone who's outgoing, but
Dude, I'm the least outgoing person ever. I'm
go.
extremely introverted. I really, really try as far as socially. I've come leaps and bounds, but I still suck at it. I struggle with anxiety so much, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
I actually probably relate to you more than you relate to you. So
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us today. And I think just to reiterate to our audience, like the purpose that we're trying to pursue here on this podcast is like we're trying to provide the perspective or a perspective on entrepreneurship from the view of college students. We're trying to inspire other college students to pursue entrepreneurial paths, and ultimately we want to serve our Lord, and ultimately by sharing how He works in our lives. And so at the end of the day, it's not about the destination where we're trying to go, it's about how we get there. And so I just want to thank all y'all for joining us tonight, and sweet.
It's been great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Wes.
thanks. Y'all have been super encouraging. So I really appreciate that.
All right. That's a wrap.
Is that the pod?
That's the pod.
There we go.